My next door neighbor lady, when I was growing up, Elvira McDonald. Well, my uncle, Dr. Jim Burrows of Guelph, Ontario, lived in the house that my parents bought from him. So, Elvira McDonald got to know Jim Burrows quite well. And she came to know my dad, Dave Burrows. Elvira hated the Burrows. She hated Jim Burrows, and she hated Dave Burrows. First thing she said when Dave Burrows moved in, after Jim Burrows moved out, she looked at Dave Burrows and she said, "You're an asshole, just like your fucking brother." She didn't like Dave Burrows, and Dave Burrows didn't like Elvira McDonald. Giddy up, boom, ba boom, ba mow mow. Giddy up, 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 boom, ba boom. Elvira, my heart's on fire. Elvira. Giddy up, boom, ba boom. Oak Ridge Boys. You know that song? Oh, I love that song. When that virus, I couldn't wait. They put it on my ghetto blaster. That was my music box, and I blasted it out the window at Elvira. Elvira wasn't liked by, the boys in the neighborhood. I don't know. What a character, Elvira. Now, the question comes to my mind, why did she find my Uncle Jim, Dr. Jim Burrows, in those days he lived in Thunder Bay, why she felt that Dr. Jim was an asshole? And why she felt like my dad, Dave Burrows, why he was an asshole? Why didn't she like me? Elvira didn't like anybody. She didn't like her husband, Murdo. No. Did she like their dog? No. It was Murdo's dog. Murdo loved that dog. She put up with it, but she wasn't affectionate to anybody. Why didn't she like Dr. Jim Burrows? Because she's just prickly, I guess. Why didn't I like her? She's just unpleasant. I didn't know when we were a kid. I mean, if you're playing tennis on Front Street, we used to play tennis out there or something. I know, like if the tennis ball went off the street and onto her yard, she would confiscate it. She was nasty to the children. She didn't have children of her own. But it doesn't explain why she found my father and my uncle to be assholes. I know, but she would think she did. She thought everybody was an asshole. Yeah. What did she expect from people so that we wouldn't be considered an asshole to her, to Elvira? What did she want from her neighbors? She never asked us for anything. Did she want neighbors at all? No. She was living in the wrong place. She shouldn't be living in the city. She needed to be far away from other people because she didn't like people. But there's conveniences to living in the city, because, it's just not so far to drive to the grocery store. I don't know. I can't figure out those previous generations of people. They're low in consciousness. Vera McDonald, let's see if I can do a muscle test. On the scale of human consciousness, Vera McDonald calibrates under 200 on the scale of human consciousness, under 190, 190. 190 on the scale of human consciousness. My neighbor, Mrs. McDonald, 190. That's pride. Luciferian pride. Mrs. McDonald went to our church, St. Andrew's Presbyterian, across from City Hall in Thunder Bay. When I was very young, they went, and then I think they stopped going. But anyways, it just shows you that people in those days that went to Christian churches were more aligned with Lucifer, Christ's enemy, than Jesus Christ himself. Let's go and find out. Okay, so on the scale of human consciousness, I don't know, let's use today. Dr. Jim Burrows, we have permission, calibrates under 200, over 200, over 300, over 400. 400! Dr. Jim Burrows is at 400 on the scale of human consciousness. Well, it's better than 190, Lucifer. 400 level means logical and rational. Well, in the fields of study in the olden days, they would say that guy was brilliant. 400 level, yeah, doctors, lawyers, university professors. That's where you would expect Dr. Jim. Unfortunately, Dr. Jim, that's not high enough on the scale of human consciousness. It doesn't even pass the law. Galactic law is that you need to be at 540, Dr. Jim, so you need to crack the books. Because it's harvest time. Aaron Abke is an excellent teacher. I don't know, about 27 years old, and he knows his stuff through and through. He's a very smart person, and he calibrates way over, whatever the 400 number was that you got. He's way over 540, just so you know. But anyways, the law is 540, Dr. Jim. So, mostly the issues that people like you have, according to Dr. David R. Hawkins of Consciousness Research, mostly what you have is the problem of your rational, logical mind, and you putting that on a pedestal. Spiritual wisdom is always, where does it go? The mind makes an excellent servant, but it makes a tyrant for a master. So the meaning of that is very strong superconsciousness with a lot of parental authority invested in it, in psychological terms. Superconsciousness. Dr. Hawkins said superconsciousness is a big issue. We got something wrong with the vocabulary because superconsciousness is not the right word. Superconsciousness is enlightened states. Superego is what I'm talking about. Superego. Superego, parental authority figures that, are your conscience is your guide, Jiminy Cricket or something, Pinocchio. Anyways, to make a long story short, what that spiritual wisdom is about the mind being a tyrant, don't put your mind on a pedestal. The mind is supposed to be a servant. To who? Love. What is love? Heart. Put your heart on a pedestal. What goes in your heart? James Allen, spiritual teacher, as you believe in your heart. Something or other. James Allen. In other words, it's important what you value. Because, your heart isn't automatically the heart of Jesus or Mother Mary. It's not. Because most people modern day
The heart is kind of a duplicate of the mind. So that's why we have the I am affirmations that was given to us by what are known as ascended masters. People of high levels of consciousness. David R. Hawkins' book, Truth versus Falsehood, gives rankings on the scale of human consciousness of all kinds of people who have lived over time. So you can get a good idea of who's high on the scale of human consciousness and who's low. Okay, who is David R. Hawkins? His biography is very impressive. He was a psychiatrist. He said he had one of the largest practices in the eastern United States. He took cases that nobody else could fix. Later in life, he moved to Sedona and had a large following of people that would go to see him. And you can see David R. Hawkins on YouTube for free because he recorded his satsang, which is church, but it's not church, it's Dr. David R. Hawkins taking questions from the audience. Now, is he a quack? Because he's listed on Quackwatch. There is a website that's called quackwatch.com. It's just the same thing as all those other fact checker websites. It's all bullshit. Snopes, for example, I don't know if you look up the history of Snopes, the people that founded Snopes got a nasty divorce, and you find out that both those people are fucking assholes and idiots, and whatever they come up as for Snopes is a pile of bullshit. They're fucking devils, the people that run Snopes. So, as far as the, how good is David R. Hawkins? Okay, well, he co-wrote Orthomolecular Biology with Nobel Prize winning scientist and unbelievably controversial personality back in the day, Mr. Vitamin C. I don't think he was a Mr. Linus Pauling. Linus Pauling won the Nobel Prize, and he co-wrote Orthomolecular Biology with Dr. David R. Hawkins. So, he did win the Nobel Prize, and I know he was pilloried for whether vitamin C is good, bad, or indifferent. He said it was good. I don't know. But anyways, that's the bona fides of David R. Hawkins. Co-wrote a textbook with Nobel Prize winning scientists. So if it's not good enough for you, I don't know what the fuck would be. Anyways, it was Dr. David R. Hawkins, the psychiatrist, that said, on planet Earth, every human being is capable of rising in consciousness to 540. And then he said to every one of us, waste no time. Get your ass in gear and do it now. Get your consciousness up to 540. Make it the number one priority of your life because your life is at risk. It is. You're breaking the law if you're not at 540. Well, what happens? I don't know. The teacher said, you want to pass Earth School? You need 540. You got to crack the books, doctor. You got to crack the books. You got to listen to Dr. Hawkins, because who else is going to tell you about it? I don't know. I'm the one labeled insane. Over and over again, I'm the one always sent to the psych ward. Me, Bobby Burrows, your nephew. The only sane person, on your list of relatives. Because I'm at 600. Peace. On the scale of human consciousness, because I worked and worked and worked my fucking ass off to get my consciousness up. What did I get out of it? I don't know. It's no fun. Not on this fucking planet where everybody, Thunder Bay, the average is, 203. Horrible. Horrible. Who's at 900? Wayne Gretzky when he was, winning the Stanley Cup. Athletes in states of flow are at 900 on the scale of human consciousness. The scale runs from 1 to 1,000. 1 is the consciousness of an amoeba. It's an exponential scale. Logarithmic. Logarithmic or exponential. I can't remember the difference. But it's one of those kind of scales. 1,000 is where you would put Jesus and Buddha, Zoroaster, Krishna, Shiva, the great avatars of human history would be at the top of the scale. Above that, I don't know, between 50 and 500,000 would be an archangel. And beyond that would be, Mother and Father God. So there is a scale for what you used to consider religion. And it is fully researched by somebody who's got fantastic bona fides. Oh, we got to do Dave. Because I did your calibration, and you're in the 400s, which, back in your day when you're going to university was fantastic, but now it doesn't cut the grade. Okay, Dave, I'm afraid that he's going to be more like Elvira, under 200. Under 200 means you're a coward, because courage is 200, and you got to hit 200 and keep going to get to 540 and then get to 600 where I am. Anyways, here we have permission. Dave Burrows, your brother Jim, calibrates over 200, under 200, 190, 190. Lucifer, because he lives in pride all the time. He's a very proud man. Not in a good way. He puts himself first. He doesn't consider anything to do with heaven. Because I'm on higher levels of consciousness and I channeled heaven for him. Because that's what I do. At higher levels of consciousness, I get spiritual gifts. Long time ago, I was given the spiritual gift of Reiki energy healing, and I learned that in Vancouver. Dave says it's a rinky-dink thing. Anyway. Reiki, R-E-I-K-I. It's related to Qi. Kung Fu, Qigong, those kind of things. Reiki, same thing. Mana, they call it in Hawaii. Prana, they call it in India. And you can learn all about it from, the American Indian doctor Deepak Chopra. If he sounds too Indian to you, then you're racist like your brother. I don't know if you're racist or not. Did you know that Dave Burrows is incredibly racist? He is. So anyways, back to, the short form of, rather than watching a bunch of Dr. Hawkins, you need to watch lots of Dr. Hawkins. He's on YouTube. Binge watch Dr. David R. Hawkins. Because you can. There's lots of videos. And then get his books. And then, once you become an expert in all this stuff, then you can start using your voice and chewing out members of your family who are not passing the grade, because this is Earth School. David Hawkins told us. Quite a big surprise. A little bit of religion that you might remember. Do you remember in Roman Catholicism? The Catholics believe in limbo and purgatory. In Presbyterianism, it's never mentioned. Anyways, David R. Hawkins did his research, and he said to us that Earth is a purgatorial realm. So you're in purgatory, Dr. Jim, which means that 400 ain't good enough. That's what the Catholics said. When you're in purgatory, you go there and wait. What for? Well, you're waiting there because you're outside the principal's office. Well, you're going to get a good stern, the strap or something, because you're in purgatory. That's outside the principal's office because you're not cutting the mustard. Because you're not at 540 or better on the scale of human consciousness. And that's what purgatory is. So if you wanted to heaven, I told Beelzebub, Dave, your brother. Because Who's at the gate, the pearly gates? St. Peter? When I talked to St. Peter's office, I channeled it. Because at higher levels of consciousness you can channel. Telepathy comes online. Anyways, St. Peter said, Dave, you're eating meat. No one eats meat in heaven. St. Peter said, stop eating meat, David. It was very loud. It was very angry. They are not pleased with David Burrows. Oh. Anyways, that was the message. So, Dr. Jim, you're going to have to quit eating meat. Regardless of whatever you have been brainwashed into believing about a healthy human diet, but I'll give you, there's a billion fucking people in India, and there's a hell of a lot of vegetarians there, so, don't tell me that you can't go and look up Indian recipes for vegetarian food. I don't know, what else do you want? I could go on, there's a million more messages I can give you, but it's 22 minutes in. Scale of Human Consciousness. David R. Hawkins. You got homework, Dr. Jim. Because if you're going to pass Earth School, motherfucker, you're going to have to get off your lazy drunken ass. Because I'm calling you a fuckface. Because anybody who's under 540 is a fucking devil. And contributes to the delinquency of this fucking planet. You still got time, Dr. Jim. You ain't 6 feet under. I ain't kidding, motherfucker. You're a motherfucker. Because you are. Because you checked out. I don't know, you gave up on God. And then you checked out the same way your brother did. Because you're a motherfucker. You didn't stop going, well, okay, if Jesus didn't do it for you, why didn't you try the motherfucking Buddha? Or the motherfucking Hindu? Or the motherfucking Aboriginal? Why did you give up? Because you're a lazy old man. Like your brother. Mentally lazy. Featherbed. You feather-bedded your retirement. And now you're a lazy fuckface like your brother. I don't care you're in the 400s. You're a fuckface. Because you're not at 540. You got problems with your heart. Because you're not at 540. That's what causes heart disease. Closed heart chakra. Anyways, you want to leave about the chakras now? I don't know. I'm sorry to tell you, but David R. Hawkins, this is the one that's going to rock your world, Dr. Jim. This is the David R. Hawkins uses an offshoot of what the chiropractic used. The muscle testing. Check to see if people have allergies. Because you counseled your brother Dave never to use a chiropractor. I mean, they do have professional standing in the province of Ontario. Maybe you changed your mind, but, I never got any messages through your brother that you changed your mind about chiropractic. I don't know. Why the fuck don't you get off your dirty, lazy fucking ass and learn about a new subject in medicine, motherfucker? Because you're a lazy cunt. Because you take after your brother. And your other fucking brother, Jack the drunk. Well, when I was working in the old folks' home, when I was a personal support worker, I met one of Jack's buddies from high school, Emil Stencer. Maybe you remember the name, maybe you don't. Emil Stencer. Well, Emil was he was in his 90s when I was looking after him, mostly dementiated, but he had moments of lucidity. And if I mentioned Jack Burrows, he lit up. He loved Jack Burrows. He loved him. It was like, Jack. First he thought I was Jack. Because he heard my name, because he wanted to know who I was. I was a new guy, and the new personal support worker is Bob Burrows. Bob Burrows. Jack Burrows? Are you Jack Burrows? No, I'm Bob Burrows. It was Jack. That's my uncle. Your Uncle Jack, he was so happy. And, he had some lucidity, and he was telling me stories about the old days in high school, drinking under the Jackknife Bridge with Uncle Jack. When Emma wasn't in a bright mood, he was a miserable motherfucker. He beat up PSWs. Women. I know. These people, when they're vicious and violent, he's dead now, so I can talk about him. Emma. I'm not supposed to talk about them, when they're still alive and looking after them. But he's dead. He's passed on. But he was a motherfucker to people. Punching women who were just simply, there to help him out. And they're going to say it's bad. Yeah, it is bad dementia. But he's a motherfucker. Because he just is. And that's your generation, Jim. Emil Stencer. Let's see if we can get a muscle test on him. We have permission. Emil Stencer. I don't know. When I knew him, calibrated over 200. Under 200. I can't do it because he was too dementiated. No, it's just that, he changed a lot. In the days when he was drinking with Jack, he calibrated over 200, 190. Later in life, when he was, let's say when he was 50 and he was a working man, he calibrated over 200, over 300. 300s. Emil Stencer. So, people over their lifetime, they do change. They can change. And they can change on the calibrated level of consciousness. The calibrated level of consciousness, according to David R. Hawkins, and consciousness researcher, well, the other thing you have to come to a full and complete understanding on, Dr. John, Dr. Jim, Dr. Eric, Dr. Frank, Dr. Dave, Dr. Elvira, is that I'm under electronic assault, electronic harassment. And that's why, I don't know, multiple reasons why people think that I'm, not right. But I am under horrible electronic assault. Electronic harassment is a new weapon. Not really, it was used in the first Gulf War. Voice to skull against Iraqi soldiers. The American government used it, psychological warfare. Voice to skull broadcast right into people's heads. You can look it up, it's on Google. Gulf War, voice to skull, American. And they used it against the Iraqi soldiers, and they said, lay down your weapons and surrender to the Americans. And they beamed it right into their heads. That was, I don't know. When I looked around on the internet, 1975, an article was mentioning voice to skull. Well, we're super advanced now, and Elon Musk has got 40,000 satellites. It's just that earlier on I said some word and it didn't come out right. Because I'm electronically hijacked. Because that's the level of technology. I don't know, you had CAT scans and MRIs. We militarize that. Miniaturize it. There's drone strikes all the time. Somebody in Texas, in a Texas trailer, some, U.S. Army sergeant, is using a joystick in a video game to go and fly a Raptor drone into some place in Yemen or Afghanistan. I don't know, 1990, if Clint Eastwood, remember movie star Clint Eastwood, Firefox? He was using neural interfaces with a Russian fighter plane. He had to go steal the Russian fighter plane and then think in Russian, because the fighter plane understood Russian brain signals. This research has been going on a long time. And it's super advanced. And the people who run our planet are, Hillary Hinton, Jeffrey Epstein, sorry, this is the state of the world. So it's just that when I rise in consciousness, they figured it out. Because the great game on planet Earth is I've got to get as many of you people as possible up to 540 and keep on going on the scale of human consciousness. That's my mission. That's my job. Waking you all up. The fact there is higher levels of consciousness, and there's a lot of documentation. It's just that, you're ignoramus. And the people who, the Celestine Prophecy movie, you can stream it. Watch it, the Celestine Prophecy movie, because Jürgen Prochnow and the general and the head of the church don't want people to have higher consciousness, and they work actively against it. And they target people like me. They don't want me to tell you the truth. They want me labeled as a schizophrenic fringe person that belongs in the psych ward permanently. Because they don't want anybody else to wake up. They want to keep them under world domination of the 1%. And they're lying fake news that Donald Trump told you was fake fucking news. Anyways, you have to come to full understanding that I am attacked, that I have been under a demonic attack. Because that's what it is. It's electronic demonic. And the number one person, the vice president or higher level, at the big fucking tech company, the biggest on the fucking planet, Google, is your friend Fraser Dougal's son, Scott Dougal. Scott Dougal is at least at vice president level. And he works on interactive experiences. And this is what is called imposed virtual reality, because I don't got any virtual reality glasses on. But it's all high-tech beamed in to attack me and herky-jerky me around by electronic means. And it's super high-tech. They can trigger, everything. They got the mind map. And they got the vibration of whatever my DNA code is or whatever else it is that they're matching so that they can, by remote control, track me. Now, this neural monitoring, it goes back way farther than, even the past 30 years. I don't know, Dr. Jim. When was the first time that you had an earbug? It's like, you hear a song on the radio and then, sometime later, you hear the song playing in your head. But there's no radio around. Everybody's had that earbug. A song that plays and plays drives you nuts. Just like, fuck, shut up. Why is my mind playing that song? Happened all the time, everybody. That was just considered a normal part of the mind. I don't know, you need to train your mind or something. That, wake up, truth bomb, whenever the first time that happened to you, Dr. Jim, at that point in time, they had voice to skull and they were beaming it into your head. Because the big wake, did you watch the Matrix movies? They're on Netflix. Because it's like a massive amount of technological updates in your database of exactly what the nature of our reality is. Because you need to watch at least the first Matrix movie. Because then you need to go and learn what does modern physics say about our reality that's different from when you went to school. Nick Bostrom, the simulation theory of our reality that says that our reality is more like a video game that you might see, the kids playing. Elon Musk of Tesla and SpaceX is a believer in Nick Bostrom's theory. So there's a whole pile of stuff you need to learn. Well, why they think that's so. And how does it affect you? Because, when you threw away Presbyterianism in, 1985, what did you replace it with? CNN? Then you're like Dave, and you're a moron. Maybe I got you all wrong. Maybe you already know all about consciousness researcher David R. Hawkins. It's just that if that's the case, then why don't you talk to it? Sorry. Talk about it to your brother Dave. Because that, brain fart right there was electronic. That was somebody who's harassing me. Real people that continue to claim that Scott Dougal from Google is, the high authority of whatever this terrorism, electronic terrorism of me. Why would Scott Dougal from Google, who knows me, want to target me? Because he knows me. I don't know, you've got high-tech abilities and you're a bit of a fuckface, and I guess you're going to just start targeting random people. Because you can, because the technology's right there. Because that's what he works on. If you go to LinkedIn, where everybody puts their resume, go look up Scott Dougal. It says interactive experiences at Google. That's what they work on. New apps. Interactive experiences. Doesn't that sound like it could be virtual reality? interactive experiences from Google? I'm going to give you that's what it is. And it's a horror of horror because it's militarized. Or something. I don't know. The military wouldn't know that there's this frequency going, I'm not the first person to complain about electronic harassment. There's all kinds of information, even now. Anyways, that's what's going on. Oh, as far as the HIV goes, that was a scam, Dr. Jim. Viruses are a scam, Dr. Jim. We learned that from COVID-19, the scamdemic. Any other doubts I had about whatever was going on, because I researched viruses for a long time. I have a Bachelor of Science in Biology. And I researched over the years HIV because I'm gay. I'm said to, be prolific in the gay community. So, yeah, a lot of fear factor would make me want to study. Anyways, after COVID-19 and some information from consciousness about my own history of, my time at McMaster University, Research University, as a nuclear reactor on campus, at least it did in those days for research. One day in my biology class, we were marched into the room where the electron microscope was. Well, it was an old relic. It wasn't turned on, and there was no technician there doing research. It was a movie prop, because they never turned it on and they never demonstrated it. Well, it's just that the whole science of virology is based upon electron microscopy. And I got a Bachelor of Science in Biology, and I didn't see an electron microscope that was a working model. Minor point? Not on this planet. And we're not even sure if Anthony Fauci is a real person because he's got the identical face to motherfucking Teresa. Because people are doing all the research on the fake fucking news after Donald Trump and before Donald Trump told us it was fake fucking news. And if you go look at Mother Teresa's picture, or go look up Google Mother Teresa, then look up Anthony Fauci, it's the same fucking face. Because there's nothing but a pack of lies. So what? I can't help you out. Because everything to do with testing is it's all tracked. Every one of those kits, I don't know, they must have some tracking number on it somehow. Because everyone is tracked, and you got this earbud problem. I mean, seriously, you got remote neural monitoring on you. Going back decades and decades and decades and decades and decades. Which implies the Fermi paradox, I think it's Fermi paradox, about, where are the extraterrestrial civilizations? It's like they're motherfucking here, and, we're in their motherfucking trap. Because they run this, in the Matrix movie, they call it the Matrix, our reality. Because that's what other spiritual teachers tell us. Many, 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 many different traditions tell us about this. Because I did my research. Now the extraterrestrials are just, I don't know. You just call them demonic. Under 200 on the scale of human consciousness. Demonic, whatever they are. Spirits, people, ghosts, other species. They speak English. They're probably humanoid. Just the Matrix movie shows you multiple ways of experiencing reality. Simulation realities, virtual reality where you get put. That's used in the movies. Jumanji: The Next Level came out about 4 or 5 years ago. About you being uploaded into a game, a video game, and they show you in the movie what it's like. Come a long way, Virginia. It's a brave new world, and we're, Aaron Apke talking about, harvest time on YouTube. Great leap in consciousness, a whole change. Metamorphosis from a caterpillar into a butterfly. Who? Supposed to be all of us. How's it supposed to happen? We gotta go and let go of the things that are keeping us on the low end of the scale of human consciousness. We need to be like Wayne Gretzky. And we need to get in states of flow. How can you get in states of flow when you're 90 years old? You can do it. Because it's not so much about, your physical body. It ain't. It's about your consciousness. How do you adjust your consciousness? David R. Hawkins tells you all about it. More and more love. Less and less the rational mind or the logical mind saying we can't do that because, this, and this thing. That simply love says we're going to do it. I don't care if it's illogical or irrational. Love says. And you go with what love says, even though it's irrational. Because all the great poets of their human history always said, go with love. So the preacher of Penticton, a long time ago I was in Penticton, and strange course of events, but I ended up going to a church in Penticton, and the lecture was excellent. Because the preacher of Penticton, evangelical or something, he wasn't doing that. He just was going on about what you value, you put in your heart. And go and check to see what you have in your heart as your personal values. Because the preacher of Penticton said, once you've got your valuables, these are your valuables in your safe, in your heart, then protect them. Protect those values. Your heart. Make sure you got the right value. Make sure you got Jesus in your heart. Maybe he would say. But he said, stand for something. Values, and go and find the best values you can. Don't be lazy. I'm sure you weren't lazy. Lazy-minded is relying on Google. Because you're tracked by Google. Everything you do. Because they want to control you. And they control your access to information. And they keep people like me away from you. It's called shadow banning in internet parlance. Censorship. Because they don't want you to know what I'm telling you. Because what I'm telling you was very unusual. Well, it's not. It's all over the internet, but the internet is vast and huge. And if you don't know about these areas of the internet and what's going on, because no one clues you in, because the people in your circle of friends and family are all just like you, and you don't get anything new. No one comes in to sprinkle some spice of life. Oh, yeah, well, anyways, with the HIV thing, well, it's just, if you can't turn on the electron microscope and demonstrate to us students who are in biology, but this is the machine, it's, the heart of biology, and it's just a prop, then everything to do with electron microscopy and everything to do comes under question. Everything comes back under question, under question, under question. I don't know. Maybe you had a working model, but there wasn't anything at my master, and that's my personal history. And I can't go off of somebody else saying, no, I saw it work or whatever. I can't, because I didn't. And I was in the program at a research university in Ontario, Canada. We're in 1985, let's say. Deepak Chopra, board certified in the USA, famous international doctor. I was going to say a lot of this stuff. Placebo effect, nocebo, placebo. COVID-19 kits. Where the fuck are they made, Dr. Jim? Brazil, Taiwan, North Korea, Madagascar, because you put 100% faith in those fucking tests that God only knows where the fuck they're made. You just assume it's to scientific standards. And it's all been tested and checked out. That's a huge assumption. Because we get all kinds of junk from China over the years that wasn't even up to CSA Canadian standards. All kinds of shit comes in and out. I know. It's just that all these HIV tests, I don't even get to see them do the tests. It's all done at the lab. Do you trust the lab? In your day, Pat Fenlon. Would you trust Pat Fenlon if you asked me? No. Why would I? I knew his daughters. Met him? I think I met him. I know his name. I know he worked in the lab. I can't trust anybody. Can't. Because I've been fucked over too many times in this lifetime to trust anybody. So I don't give a flying fuck. How many times people say this, that, and the next thing Pat Fenlon says this, that, or whatever. Whatever you say, I can't help you out. Did Pat Fenlon have, I don't know, something to test for viruses back when he was working? I don't know. Anyways, there's going to be a massive shift in consciousness, because when you go into higher consciousness, you know, it's a whole different animal. But you don't expect, life to just be what you've experienced the past 90 years. It would be very disappointing if this was it, you just reincarnate and you do what you just did in that lifetime over and over and over again. Because it's kind of like that Bill Murray game, Groundhog Day, Groundhog Life. Because even the way this planet is, it has the technology and the natural resources and the brain power to house everybody. But it doesn't. And it hasn't. And then there's no plans to house everybody. But it has plans to track everybody, and has been tracking everybody for a long time. The earbud thing. When was it? Before the 1970s? I don't know. 1970s, I was getting earbuds. Yes, that music playing in my ears. It's just different facts. How many times did you get an itchy nose over your lifetime when there was no insects around? No cat dander, nothing. Just out of the blue, it's just itchy. That's electronic harassment. Microwave attack. I don't know, I've been getting those kind of itches as far back as I can ever remember in my lifetime. Because, maybe you don't like those facts and figures, isn't that good enough for you? Oh, East Germany. Communist East Germany. They said 1/3 of East Germans was employed. Sorry if I'm getting the grammar wrong, because I'm being hijacked as I'm trying to tell you the story. 1/3 of East Germans were paid by the government to spy on the other 2/3. Does that mean that 1/3 of the people? No, we don't need that. Now we've got AI, artificial intelligence, and supercomputers that can do it all. Chinese social credit does it in China. They got cameras everywhere, and they monitor every transaction, everything you do all day long. Everything, 100% you being monitored. Some people don't like that. They think it's an abuse of, you don't want that in, North America or something already. They're already there. You're fully tracked. So, if they want me to be given a positive HIV test, the message gets passed on. Is it a conspiracy? Yes, it fucking well is. It targets homos. Well, you go in the gay bar, the only bar in town where the beer coasters say get tested every 3 fucking months for HIV. Because there's an enormous pot of money on antiretroviral treatment. Test everybody and get them all antivirals. I don't know, the new ones are $1,500 a month. Cash cow. So if you're Pfizer, don't you want more cash coming in? Because at what level do you indicate that Bob needs to test positive? Do you make sure that that kit that's going to test positive is assigned to Bob Burrows? Or does the kit, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, it's the technician that marks off that he's positive? Somewhere along the way, because the kit can be made to do red or green. If it's made in some jungle factory in, I don't know, Colombia. No one knows where the fuck these tests come from. The reliability, who's looking over the shoulder of somebody who's disgruntled or getting paid off by the 1%? Pfizer, the great pharmaceutical company, is a convicted multiple incidents, convicted felon. I don't know, billions of dollars in fine. It survived too big to fail when it's got to pay billions with a B in fines. It's a RICO, racketeering, influence, corrupt organization. Special laws against that in the USA. How come it's not being thrown up at Pfizer? Because Pfizer's too big to fail and all the government is in their pocket. Pfizer has an economic interest in convincing us all that we're permanently sick. And even though we have a mammalian immune system that's so good at the Shunya dump, the fucking bear can go through the garbage dump eating rotten food. Seagull can't too, but it's avian. But mammalian immune system can deal with rotten fucking food in a bear. But ours is so weak because that's what you doctors keep telling us. And that's what Pfizer keeps telling us. Jab, 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 jab. Because our immune system isn't as good as a bear. The fuck it isn't. You've got to see there's a vested interest in pharmaceutical big pharma to get you fucking what? You're the pushers. You're drug pushers, Dr. Jim. You push placebo. Very expensive fucking shit. And then you scare the fucking living shit out of your patients. You and the other fucking doctors that scared the motherfucking shit out of me with the HIV. Dr. Jim. Your motherfucking industry. Your fucking drug pushing industry. That's what you are. You're no different than a crack dealer. To me, motherfucker. You, Dr. Jim. Fuckface. Asshole. I'm with Elvira. You are a motherfucking asshole. And you know better. I can't help you out. You know everything that went on with all those drug reps. All kinds of stories about all kinds of, special things for the doctors to get them to prescribe more of our drug. I don't know. Discount trips. I don't know. We just know it went on. Pfizer, convicted felon. That means serious criminal. Pfizer. They are. Too big to fail. Anyways, Dr. Jim, that's the way I look at it. There's no evidence for viruses. It's impossible for you to confirm or deny it because our civilization is fully brainwashed into that it's real. Fully brainwashed. And yet, I went through Bachelor of Science and I didn't see a working electron microscope. Now you're going to say, I don't know. The other thing I'm going to give you is how? I don't know. It's just a bunch of scientific questions. Maybe there is an answer, but I haven't seen a working model electron microscope. So the rest of it is kind of, I don't know. Is it a moot point or what? I don't know. How do you focus? When you invent an electron microscope, how do you focus it? Because with a light microscope, you can use a clear plastic ruler as a scale on a light microscope that you use in high school. But anything that's, as small as viruses, they're theoretical particles, and they're theoretical. I see pictures of these so-called electron micrographs, and I look at them, and I don't know, maybe somebody with a pencil could scribble something, a bunch of things, because it just looks like nothing. This is at an incredibly small scale, and they're telling you that's a virus biting out of it. How the fuck do they know that? How the fuck do you focus an electron microscope for the first time and know what the fuck you're seeing? It could be dust, if you're seeing any image at all. It's just because I'm calling bullshit on this so-called technology. Because I've seen no evidence of it being real in my scientific training at McMaster University. And as far as the AIDS epidemic, it's fake fucking news. It was fake news back then. What happened to the fucking Zika virus that was such a big scare so many years ago? What happened to the crack babies? We're going to have a generation of stupid fucking people with pinheads because their mothers were smoking crack. We never hear about them. Sorry. Fake news is really strong. And we've had decades and decades of lies. And indoctrinations into stuff that just doesn't exist. Because, you want to pass the test? Bob? Your biology, I don't know. I don't think we had any questions on electron microscope anyways. But if there were, I would have to give whatever the textbook said regurgitated. 540 is the law, Dr. Jim. You need to be at 540 in the scale of human consciousness. It's the law. David R. Hawkins is your teacher. Crack those books. Get on the internet. Binge watch David R. Hawkins. Or you're breaking the law. The penalties for breaking the law are imprisonment. And for certain people, punishments beyond that. Anyways, if you're under 540, you're breaking the law. It's considered serious. You're considered a terrorist. Yeah, even though you're a doctor or whatever. If you tell you're at 540 and you've got heart, you're a terrorist. Same as everybody else on planet Earth. This Earth Ascension, you're not the only one that's got to get to work. You need to call your brother. Call him a fuck-faced devil and tell him, because either you get on board with raising your consciousness, Dr. Jim, or, I don't know. Fred Baker raised his consciousness. The alcoholic? Yeah. I did consciousness research on Fred Baker. His previous lifetime, whether it was human or not, he calibrated at the same level as a snake, a poisonous snake. And he had all his problems with booze. Until, his wife told him, go to Omaha and do your residential treatment, stop drinking. Smart man, he did it. And then, he stuck with the Catholic Church the rest of his life. And the day he died, I calibrated his muscle testing. He was at 600. He went from, I don't know what it was, 40 or 50 to 600 in one lifetime. Technically, you become an angelic at 600. Fred Baker became an angelic in his lifetime. And technically, somewhere along the line, you could say Catholic sainthood begins at 600. Fred Baker went from being a poisonous snake to a Catholic saint. One lifetime. I'm sure you knew Fred Baker, you know. He had a camp down there at Amethyst. Fred Baker is your role model, Dr. Jim.